All right, now 6 o'clock. Let's call the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Wilkinson.
Here.
Commissioner Justardens.
Here.
Commissioner Burge.
Here.
Commissioner Koenig.
Here.
Mayor Barry.
here. All right. Item B, public comment, 4 minutes. Anybody? All right, hearing none, we'll head up. Item C, presentation of safe routes to school. Who is starting? And welcome, thank you, everybody, for coming.
Hi everybody, I'm Michelle Harrison, I'm the new city manager. So Mike and I,
I'm Mike Travis, the oldish superintendent, I don't know, not that old, but yeah.
and then we have Kevin, our
Trevilian.
traditional retired
Staff engineer.
He's been here for a while. Yeah, full position. So, commissioners, you guys should have a packet or a printout of the slideshow. It's got a lot of information in there. Luckily, we're just gonna highlight what is in there, but we wanted to provide you with some more details about the Safe Routes to School project. And I do want to acknowledge that maybe the information about the project has not flowed to you in an ideal path. The city had some staff changes and whatnot, but anyhow, the school has kind of kept the ball rolling, and we'll talk about what they've done in the meantime in this presentation. So we'll just do a quick overview of what we're going to talk about. We'll recap what Safe Routes to School is. We'll talk about the grant/project timeline. We'll go over the grant planning process and data collection. We'll talk about the improvements that are proposed. Touch in on the application status. There's some questions at the end of the presentation. And then the punchline is we need a resolution of support from the city in order to apply for the grant. So that'll be the ultimate ask. Okay, recap. Safe Routes to School program. It's a federal grant program that is administered by the state. The goal is to make walking and biking to school safer and more appealing for kids. The community benefits of the grant, really extend beyond Safe Routes to School. And it's really a great program to fund sidewalk improvement. So timeline, basically we kind of started on this project in, I'm gonna say late 2024, early 2025, by identifying that there were some safety concerns. And then we matched those safety concerns with the Safe Route to School grant program and did some data gathering and put together an action plan, and that was all in accordance with the Safe Routes to School kind of guidance. And we'll talk about we'll talk about the data gathering and the improvements. But we are basically at the doorstep of needing to apply for the grant. So the grant is due February 18th. The city will be the lead on submitting the grant, and then the school will be the kind of the support for that. If we are awarded funding, if we apply and are awarded funding, we'll find out in the summer if we've got funding. And then once that happens, generally we have like about a year and change to do some of the design and the engineering. And then in an ideal world, it would be about 2 years, year and a half, 2 years for construction. Okay, and then here's just I think the commission, you got a peek on what the improvements were, but we'll just peek at what the proposed improvements are, and then we'll talk about the data collection that kind of helped us form what these improvements are. So I'll turn it over to Mike.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thanks for allowing us the opportunity to present tonight. Just to give you a little bit of background on how we got to this point, I can really credit Shannon DiFrancesco, the principal of our elementary school, Mather, and even our school resource officer for recognizing, Jake Kleiman, for recognizing some safety concerns in front of Mather. As you know, we have angled parking in front of Mather, and so in the morning there are vehicles, and you may hear from some of the other folks that are here in the audience today, but vehicles are often dropping young children off in the middle of the street, some of them as young as 3. And they are walking across a street, stopping in the middle of the street, and going between angled parked cars, it presents a variety of concerns. And of course, our job as leaders in our community, whether we're school or city, is to try to keep our kids safe, and we recognize that need. Shannon reached out to me initially and said, Mike, we've got to do something. She put together kind of a request to the city, and and it was well thought out, well put together. I took that information and set up a meeting with Devin, at the time, Devin Olson, your former city manager, and just said, what can we do? Is there anything we can do to improve the safety in front of Mather? And at that time, Devin said, well, your timing is like perfect. He said, because the city is now eligible again for the Safe Routes to School grant, which the city has had one time in the past at least that I'm aware of, 2012, 2013. And so with that, he set up and brokered a meeting which included Kevin, the Coleman engineer, to kind of kick it off. And so Kevin and I and Devin did a brief review. I think the principals were at that kind of initial meeting. We reviewed things, we felt that we were eligible for it, and we agreed, yep, let's go for it. Let's start the process. And so we have support from the Michigan Fitness Foundation, which kind of oversees the grant and helps those that are applying to do that. Kevin and Coleman has had a lot of experience, as you know, with Safe Routes to School, both in our community, Negaunee, other places. But one of the first tasks was we had to put together and had to meet specific roles in putting together a team. So you can see in your packet, it's on your packet, it's here, but we had to put together a representative team that kind of covered some of those different things. We have, James Peterson, former board member here. James, he's faith-based, representative as a pastor at the church here in town. But he also serves pro bono, free as our crossing guard, because we've been unable to. We're willing to pay him, but he doesn't want to take our money, and that's okay. But we really appreciate his safety out in front of the secondary building, because we've had some close calls there. Some of the others that we've had involved with this, as you can see, a pretty wide range. And Officer Kleiman has been kind of part of the process all along. We really appreciate Chief Peters, as she's really stepped in to kind of assist us with this process as well. But so we had our initial meeting in February, early February of that year, because it came to us in January. So it's been really over a year now that we've been working on this. So any questions about the team and the formation of the team? I will not consult your intelligence and read this to you, but I wanted you to know, and this is really only a snippet. This doesn't encapsulate the hundreds and hundreds of emails that have flown back and forth between members of the planning committee. 3 of our board members are here. We have 2 trustees, Greg Pond and Cassie T-Bear, and our board president, Laura Bender, is here as well. She's been involved from the get-go in this process as well. But you can see how we started those meetings, put our team together, and then we started the process of collecting some data, which the principals, both Nicole Lossoff, our secondary principal, and Shannon will speak with you a little bit about that here in a second. But what I do want to say to the commission is that we learned, we were unaware, as you know, in my role, I do a very good job of keeping my 7 board members up to date on what we're working on. We were unaware from the school side that you were unaware that we had been working on this for quite a period of time. And we learned that in October from one of your commissioners when Ray Anderson, your interim manager, said, hey, let's walk the streets, let's try to interact and see what kind of feedback we got. It became clear to us Varnum Street was, a hotly contested issue. There were some varying thoughts on Varnum Street and whether or not that was a way that we should go. So after that process, we then said, okay, let's put our heads back together again. What other ways can we improve safety if Varnum is something that is going to be an issue for us? So again, we didn't know you didn't have that information all along, and we apologize for that. But hopefully you're up to speed now. That being said, Michelle has been awesome in jumping in, and Mayor Barry joining in the last few months to be part of the process as well. So that really is kind of our timeline, which at this point is over a year now. And now the data gathering, I'm going to call the principals up they can talk a little bit about what information needed to be collected. So Shannon, Nicole, have at it.
So just what it kind of looked like at the elementary for us is we did that data gathering. We sent out polls to our students, actual Canvas students. We had a different survey for our K through 2 and then a different survey for our 3 through 5. I had 3 staff meetings up until that point, letting them know what was going on, how we would roll things out, and how we would collect that data. We had a QR code that students could use, or teachers could use, or family members could use. And then we also had the link to it, so they could take it in any velocity. We also provided the teachers with some written or permanent product that they could do that if they were more comfortable with that. And then they didn't have to calculate any of the data. I did, or we had our team help us do it too. We could submit it and they would do it if we didn't have enough time. We sent ours out a little earlier than Nicole did. And in hindsight, I think we should have waited because we still were getting quite a bit of snow. But regardless, we did have a pretty good feedback from all the students, and many of the parents did answer it as well. So adults to walk or bike with was about 34% of our population, to having as their highest want or need. That would make walking easier, and then to do it with friends was about 50%. So those are pretty high. 38% said that they would walk or bike the route if it was safer. So just an aside from this, we also have the task force that we meet with absenteeism that we fight with all the time. And so many of our students are right within the neighborhood. And so I think to myself, because some of the parents don't get up in time and get their kids up in time, and 3rd through 5th graders can get themselves up in time. And I think if they had the capacity to walk, they'd be at school. If they had the capacity to ride their bike, they'd be at school. And they're within a couple blocks. So I just thought that's an important part too. So that was part of ours.
I don't know if there we go. So we did a very similar process. So I had a staff meeting with my teachers, informed them about the application grant that we were going to be doing and what the process needed, and that we needed data from our kids. We took about a 20 to 30 minute period after lunch and sat all the students down in that class. The teachers facilitated the link to the students that was in their email. They then completed the survey within that time frame, giving us the information. For parents, we again had posters around the school, but we also emailed the links to all of our parents district-wide, and posted those things on our social media and website for parents to complete as well. So very, very similar things, that they would walk to school if, things were safer, whether that be the route was safer, the snow, they could walk on the highway instead of walking on the sidewalk. And again, we have a lot of kids that are in the area and would walk, but 28 can be quite treacherous in the morning, especially during the winter months when it is dark and students are not very visible. Everyone's in their rush to get to work or school. It can be quite hazardous for students to walk. So.
And then my one more just input before we move on to is also that keeping in mind that kids aren't mini adults, right? I feel like sometimes I have rational skills and develop my judgment, but sometimes Jeff will go like this to me before I step into traffic because I'm thinking about other things, and it's real. Yeah. And I'm doing other things and I'm in a different place, but our kids at our level, and I know even at yours, because I have some of those, they're not thinking. They haven't processed or developed the processing skills just yet. Those safety skills aren't a priority. And so on a daily, I will see kids jarred out in front, and they are that young, and I'm like, and it's not just on front side, it's bus side. So we regulate that, and we do a really good job. The team does a fantastic job. But I greet each student in the morning, so we see, like this morning I was like, please dear Lord, see that one. Because the traffic, they don't see each other, and then the parents don't hold them back, or they don't even get out of the car a lot of the time. So just with that reasoning process and stuff, I think we could do a little bit more for them to help safeguard.
And we have teenage drivers, which we all know how fantastic those can be, and then you add texting and driving as they get out of school. You know, they haven't had their phone all day, but I have it right now, so they're driving, and then we've had some fender benders right outside of the school as well, trying to stop for people crossing the street. So, and, you know, James Peterson can talk to more of that, but I know Chief Peters has also been out in front of the school a lot this year, just to speak on how it's a nerve-wracking
I'm gonna
location.
kind of move you guys along if you
Yeah.
don't mind,
Yeah.
because I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
There is definitely a safety need.
And then just one last good point, 58% of our students live within 2 miles of school. So that's a good amount.
Thanks, you guys.
Okay, well, I'll do everything I can to keep this moving right along as well. Again, I'm Kevin Trevelyan. I'm part of the team to provide technical assistance to the process with cost estimates and maps and whatever else I can bring to the table. This student map is just another tool that was created and used to help create what is ultimately the action plan. The action plan is a key part of the Safe Routes to School planning process, and this is just meant to show, it's kind of neat information to look at if you have time at some point. Walking audits, we did break up into groups and walk the areas of each school. This was done last fall, I believe. A lot of great survey information was collected, as well as the condition of some of the existing infrastructure. I'm not gonna go through the details of what we found there. Okay, so the action plan. This is the culmination of all that work. And again, without going through every single detail represented here, I'll point out a few of the maybe unique items in the resulting plan. And the first one of those is approximately 6,000 feet of sidewalk, either replacement or construction in and around the Munising Public School System. So it's a significant number. We worked with the Michigan Department of Transportation and came to an agreement on a concept for a pedestrian island out on M28 in the area of the existing crosswalk. That would act as a traffic calming measure to slow people down, as well as a place for pedestrians to rest, to have a spot to stop halfway across the highway without having to dart the entire thing. There's pedestrian level lighting associated with that improvement as well, to try and help with some of the darkness we deal with a lot of our months of the year. There's a couple of additional Elm Avenue islands near the elementary school. Again, very similar program, all relative to pedestrian safety. A big idea is the closure. I guess we have another slide. The potential closure of Jewel Street in the area of the elementary school. Now, this is a very crude drawing, only meant to portray the concept. No access to any buildings is planning to be shut off as part of this. One thing I witnessed last fall, it was at end of school day time, was with the bus traffic in that area and all of the student activity. It was kind of semi-controlled chaos. Restricting some vehicular traffic along this roadway could have a significant safety impact. Maybe later I could answer any more particular questions. This street already is not a major through route, as it is dead-ended just to the south already.
I'll jump back in. I'm getting a cold, so it's like, anyhow, just kind of highlighting some of the agencies that support the grant proposal so far. And then we kind of move along and hit the high points. Really, I think the big question that we have here is, what does the city pay for? How do they do that and when? So we'll skip these slides. And so city costs for this project, we have to cover the engineering fees. And generally, that's about 20% of what the capital cost is, or 20% of what the construction cost is. So that puts us at about $200,000. We probably need to come up with that funding over a 2-year period. We don't necessarily have $200,000 laying around, but we can kind of patch together funding from various city accounts and possibly reach out to some community stakeholders such as the Sioux Tribe or the DDA helped in the past, and come up with the funds. Okay, let's see, I think, and then the grant application is due February 18th, which is closely approaching. Again, the city will submit the application. We're the Act 51 local agency, and we do need the city approval, which is kind of at the end of this, the resolution of support. We need that in order to apply. And then just at the end, there's a few questions. I think I had quite a few questions about the pedestrian islands and what they would look like. And basically, we're kind of at the conceptual phase now. There really hasn't been any design. And if we're awarded the grant, typically in the design phase, the various agency stakeholders or local stakeholders are engaged in the design process. So we can kind of have a design that works for the community and everybody that will interact with those features. Go ahead. Yeah, so that's Safe Routes to School.
The islands on Elm, you're talking about one on each end of the block that Mather sits on?
That's correct.
Approximately the same size as the one in front of the post office
Exactly, yes.
with angled parking?
The angle parking, I believe, would go away as part of that improvement in front of the school.
Why couldn't you, instead of putting the islands out there, take the angle parking away and make that a drop-off, instead of spending the money to put 2 islands out there that the city has to maintain?
Trip over with the snowplow.
We don't the city doesn't maintain the one by the post office. So we're gonna maintain the 2 by Mather instead of taking that angle parking away. And I jotted down, who in their right mind lets a 3-year-old out of a car in the middle of the street? Come on. So it just, that's a little window dressing as far as I'm concerned with that. But can't you reconfigure that? Couldn't that be reconfigured pretty simply as a drop-off and pickup?
I'm sure it could be.
Okay.
And you forgive, if the city commission has questions, it's because we relate to the dance on this
Yeah.
project. We, if we would have been brought in January of 2025, we could have asked these questions and brought this input down, so forgive us for that.
It's been very difficult to hear the positives of this project because of that issue. So I'm glad that everybody's here to talk about the positives because this is the first I'm hearing of it. However, what I'm not hearing either is what things have been done, non-infrastructure, non-$200,000 out of the city stuff that have been attempted first. Are we ticketing all of the people that are from out of town, that live in the township, that are dropping their kids off recklessly outside of Mather? Are we actively talking about obstructing traffic on an ambulance route? Are we actively talking about shutting down Jewel Street, which I think is a brilliant idea? It's the best thing I've heard of this project. And allowing that to open up more drop-off spaces or flow-through options. And I feel like if you guys got a follow-up to that, I would love to hear it, because I would like to know how those processes went, so that way the city just has to spend at any cost to make this work.
I have a number of questions around that. And I applaud the school district and the staff and the law enforcement for addressing what is obviously a safety issue with our children. And the plan looks sound. It looks like it has been revised to meet practical needs, and I think we should do it. But I got a couple of questions. Kevin, the cost estimates, you prepared these?
I did.
I assume they're very conservative?
They should be conservative, yes.
Okay. And what is the school's financial investment in this project?
We have to put forth which actually it's refundable. They used to require a 20% match, but they did away with that in 2024, so they're not requiring a 20% match from school districts. The only thing we have to be able to do is, we have to support through some projects like a walk to school day, bike to school day. We have to do some, put out some literature, do a variety of event type things. So we have a budget of $15,000 that we can spend up to $15,000, but it's actually reimbursable. So the grant actually would reimburse us for that, so.
Will the grant reimburse the city for the 20% engineering cost?
So, well, as far as the engineering costs go, I mean, one consideration that we have, one of our board members here, Greg Pond, is a, registered tribal member, and of course, they're supportive of the project. As Michelle and I have spoken, I would really believe that the tribe there would be a good chance with a 2%, we could chip away at that. This community, when it comes to supporting things, has always, come forth, like when we look at our playground, Nicole Lossock, our secondary principal, was hugely instrumental in helping to raise over $150,000 in the community to match what the community, to match what the school district was putting forth for that playground there. So I believe that the community will see the importance of safety. I mean, we got into these jobs, all of us, whether it's your job or mine, to make a difference for people. I'm sure that we can figure out a way to make a difference here.
And I'm sure the tribe will be generous in their contribution, and the community will support it too. Michelle, you will have to find $100,000 in this year's budget.
Well, we're talking about the budget later,
$100,000
so we can move back to
for
that.
our wastewater treatment plant preliminary engineering
Yep.
design.
Are we still listening?
Would the city be the grant applicant?
Yes.
And we have administrative costs associated with the grant?
When you say administrative costs, you mean just like the reporting that we have to
Yep.
do? Yeah, there's, with the grant, my understanding is that DOT handles the construction funds, so that we don't get them and we don't have to.
So that's my next question. Do we pick the contractors as DOT?
Kevin, do you have anything on that?
It's let through the MDOT bid letting system, so any MDOT pre-qualified contractor could bid on the work.
I'm trying to avoid another Annie River Bridge.
Yeah.
Jewel Street, for most of my life, was closed to traffic. We only opened it up when the central school closed as an elementary, I think. So that's not really an issue to me. The islands, the grantee grant application, the schools investment, okay. Thank you.
My reservation is just, it is the 20% or the $200,000 and not having, and I'm not trying to go back to there, but not having enough notice to be able to figure out how we were gonna incorporate this into the budget. Is it possible? I'm sure it is, but I wish we could have more commitment before putting ourselves on, basically on the hook. But you can't put a price on safety either. So I get that. It's very tough.
From a background aspect of the Safe Routes to School grant, if we say no, all this work is still going to be viable for next year's grant cycle, correct?
Well, to a degree, you're gonna have to have revised cost estimates, you know how that works. This would be we were poised, our hope was but with Devin leaving, we were not able to proceed at the rate we wanted to initially. Our goal was putting in for June of this year, and June of '25, and then we were looking at October, and that came and went for a couple different reasons, and so now we're at February. There is a June date, yet it's a June 17th, I want to say, is the next window that you could apply for this grant. I would surely think that Kevin would have to do some adjustments to the budgeting estimates for that if it was a June application. But I certainly understand the heavy lift, and I understand the position that you're all in with knowledge. I'm sorry that we didn't have that. My board has had this for a year, so so we are we are trying to respond to what we hear from our parents, from our community, from our board members, you know, our officers, both the chief and Officer Kleiman. To answer your question, Commissioner Burge, about what have we done, we've had Jake out there many days directing traffic. Some days he can be there every day and some days he can't. We've had, you know, we have Mr. Peterson at the other building, free of charge, you know, trying to promote safety there. But we're gonna have an accident at some point in this community, and I'm not trying to be a fearmonger here, but I just don't want it to be on my watch, and if I had the ability or chance to do something about it, that's why I'm here. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and I get that. I move on, I've got other big fish to fry, but this is a fish that is worth spending some time on.
Kevin, regarding the grant, if we did apply, and would there be clawbacks if something did happen that we weren't able to move forward, but
Couldn't find the money.
but at least try to, you know, keep this ball rolling? Is there
Yeah,
any clawbacks?
so tonight's resolution would not commit the city to executing what could be a grant agreement proposal from the DOT.
Okay.
When is the grant award, Kevin, do you know? Or Mike?
Summer, it's July, June or July?
I'm asked because our fiscal year is July 1st.
I think it's July,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, it's July. I forgot what date in July,
Okay.
but
So if we commit to this, and I very much support this and am willing to approve it. I'm looking hard at the lady who's gonna have to come up with
we
$100,000.
still have it out. So.
Okay.
So-
If we approve this, you're gonna have to come up with $100,000 this year and $100,000 next year, next fiscal year. What if we, if we approve this resolution tonight, and by the way, can I have a copy of the grant application?
It's not put together yet. We're still, we have.
I'll take a blank
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
I wanna see what the terms are. So if we approve this tonight, and I'm very much in support of this, and it comes down to June, when we finalize the budget and the money's not there, what happens?
That's what I was just asking about clawbacks. That's what I was asking about clawbacks.
I can speak to that somewhat, and I'm sure that Kevin and even Michelle could, but one of the things I know about it is that in terms of lining, as you well know, lining up your contractors and do that, right now, if you approve this resolution and we move forward, you're still not gonna be breaking ground on anything till the 27-28 school year in that time frame.
Right.
So there's plenty of time to put on the brakes if that need be the case.
Well, I think we would have to make a financial commitment before we sign the grant agreement. So that would be July 1st for us.
I'm concerned, we're looking at costs that we don't know anything about. We're guessing 20%, we don't know. It's a guess, maybe it could be more, it could be less, could be 300,000, we don't know that. But we're gonna commit to it whether we know it or not. And then after that, then we have to commit that we're gonna maintain forever this. We don't know what that cost is gonna be. As I said, we don't maintain the one in front of the library. We're gonna maintain, who's gonna maintain those? Is the city crew gonna maintain them? We're gonna have somebody out there with a shovel? And we're gonna take up the turn lane and M28? I just think there's so many variables that we don't know about, that concern me. I can see snow plowing problems on 28, I can see it on Elm Street, I can see 100 different things. I can see kids racing across one lane of M28, jumping in the middle of the aisle, whether snow has been cleared or not, and then racing across the other lane to get on the other. I don't know, I don't want, I'm all for the safety of the kids too, but I can just see so many problems, and there's too many variables for us, for me, too many variables, unanswered questions that I just can't. I'm all for the safety of the kids, but I don't think we can commit taxpayer money without knowing what we're doing.
Well, we're not doing
And
it
I don't
tonight.
think,
That's
I understand it's a resolution, but once the resolution is in motion, you're gonna spend the money.
We don't have it.
Jordan,
Well,
I'm
I
gonna give you
understand,
another
we
opportunity.
don't know if we're gonna have it or
Yeah,
not.
I just have a couple, maybe small potatoes questions. You said we're going to take away the parking at the school. Are we taking away parking spots at the school, at the middle school? with removing, at Mather, yeah, sorry.
Removing them or replacing them with parallel parking?
If we're going from parallel to, would it be like taking away spots?
Yes.
I guess.
Removes parking.
Yes.
Mangles parallel?
Have we like contacted the churches at all, like will it affect them? I know they obviously use all that spot as well,
I'm
not to.
gonna jump in and just say, we have not applied for the grant, we're at a very conceptual
Sure.
phase. So a lot of the questions that are being asked will be taken care of during the design process, when stakeholders such as the church would be engaged to make sure we've got a design that fits everybody.
And church side is parallel parking.
Okay, and that's.
Mather side is the angle parking.
I just didn't know if
Both of
they
them use
both.
the courthouse parking because there's
Yeah.
that many people in
And
the
then
churches on Sunday.
also Sacred Heart has their own parking lot, and then the other church uses Chalkway Street parking too.
Okay, I'm gonna take one more comment from the commission, and then we're gonna go to vote. So whoever wants to make the last final comment.
I swear, the danger is real, and the plan to address it is as sound as we can make it, and it's up to the city to come up with funding. It will be one of several funding challenges we would throw at you, Michelle.
Indeed.
I would just add to that, Commissioner Jardins, that I know that my team that's been working on this would be willing to help in the effort to raise those funds so that much of them don't have to come out of the city coffers. I'm sure that there are people in here that would help do that, as they did with the playground.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to entertain a motion on the resolution to approve the Safe Routes to School resolution.
I move we support the resolution,
I'll support.
adopt the resolution, I should say.
It's moved by Commissioner Justardens, supported by Commissioner Freilich to adopt the Safe Routes to School resolution. Any more discussion?
Has to be rolled.
I got that.
I don't think we have the money for it. Based on the projects that the city have going on right now, it makes a lot more sense for the city to push it out until we were set up for the next fiscal year.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Mary.
Commissioner Wilkinson,
Nay.
Commissioner Justardens.
Yes.
Commissioner Burge,
Nay.
Commissioner Prunick,
Yes.
Mayor Barry.
Yay. Motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, item B, consent agenda. Any questions, concerns, otherwise I'd entertain a motion.
Make the motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Burge, supported by Commissioner Justardens to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Old business. Number 1, wastewater treatment facility improvement project, USDA PER funding application that we tabled since 1/7. Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
We were very confused.
I think that you really need an office here in City Hall, Scott.
Thanks, you guys, for
If I get
coming.
your help, better.
Is that in the basement? It's a nice workspace.
I might need a snowmobile if I move here. So, yes, certainly should have been at the last meeting. Here to talk about the story behind that proposal. Any questions you have on it? I'm guessing some of the background of why that proposal is probably more, so I was gonna kind of start there. Going back to, I think, one of Devin's last meetings I was at last summer, I know we voted, the council voted towards a capital improvement at the wastewater plant. Not knowing what that exactly looks like at that time. Still not knowing what that exactly looks like. That was really keyed off by about my 15th or 20th walk around the plant with Ron over the years and failure at the digester.
Scott, how long have you been doing this? I mean, here in Munising? Were you here in 2008, 2009?
I was not.
Okay.
Nope, missed that. Not long after though. I think my first one was the first Stage 58 project. So 11. So I know a lot of the history of that one, though, I'll say that. Ron and I've talked for years. So, you know, that vote for capital improvement, I'm gonna call it placeholder, really was in response to that, but there's a lot of issues at the wastewater plant through the years. A lot of the projects that have been built out there through the years, I don't wanna call them Band-Aids, but they were partial replacements that may or may not work the best with the other items at the wastewater plant. And I don't wanna overspeak Ron's needs out there and his exact requirements. So as part of that, I am not a wastewater treatment plant engineer. Certainly not a specialty of Coleman Engineering either. Talking to Devin and Ron, we do work with the company HDR. Their proposal is part of our proposal. HDR is a national firm. They specialize in wastewater treatment, water treatment. They have a large division for that. We gave them a call. They came up, visited the plant, I believe in August, probably August, something like that. Seemed to be fairly evident to them as well, and really to myself. The engineering needed to be approached differently on a wastewater treatment plant project here than it has in the past. And this is going back to improvements all the way back to the 70s. A lot of the improvements, again, they were partial, they were needed, but they maybe didn't take into account what is in the best interest of the wastewater treatment plant going forward. A lot of those requirements are hydraulic, you know, the actual path that water takes through there. One of the things that I would point out, Ron fights issues with overflowing his oxidation ditches, which are probably the key treatment factor you put in 2008. They have overflowed before. They shouldn't do that. So HDR's take on that was, prior to even discussing funding the project, we need to get a handle on what are the real needs that the wastewater treatment plant has, and then bring those needs to the council and say, okay, how can we marry up funding at the wastewater treatment plant and what we actually need out there? So the problem with that is really money that is eligible for preliminary engineering under almost any grant program that we work with, be it usually USDA. Let's say that's usually gonna be probably USDA. Normally, we would write a preliminary engineering report, we'd get some USDA funding, you folks would have knowledge that you're gonna get reimbursed for that through USDA grant law, right? This one being different, you know, just because of that prior history and this need to really get some preliminary engineering in earnest done out there to know what that scope of work looks like, that's why this proposal came before any kind of USDA application. I am confident that if this turned into a USDA application, and that's your choice if it does, right, that you would be reimbursed for this as preliminary engineering. But we would have to go through some of this process, get some of the preliminary engineering done, come up with some cost estimates, discuss what that actually looks like out there, you know, how much can you afford?
Something you just said, we might be getting reimbursed, you didn't.
Well, the dollars we would spend here in the USDA water sewer loan applications scenario would be eligible for reimbursement.
Okay, so it is eligible.
Yep.
If this report, if we, for some reason, didn't get funded through USDA the first round, how long is this report valid for?
Oh, I would say forever.
I mean,
honestly,
if
until
we-
there's a
if
major
we
improvement.
Went for a second round of grant funding, would this report still be valid to be reimbursed?
Absolutely.
Okay.
USDA is actually, they're different than that. You get an application, there is no deadline. The rolling application is continuous. You put your name in the line. They might make you an offer that you don't like. 100% loan, right? You know, poor terms, whatever that might be. If you don't like it, you reject it. You stay in line, you're still there, you know. There's worlds where you can reduce the amount of the project and negotiate that along the way. You know, that story is probably going to happen, something to that effect. But if this was to become an Eagle grant application, which I don't think that's in the city's best financial interest, but I'm gonna tell you that that's something we'll look at. That's the word rolling application, it would be good, the application's good for 5 years.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yeah.
In 2008, 2009, when we put together the infrastructure project for the city, we looked hard at the sewage treatment plant and Washington Street. They were the two most expensive pieces of that puzzle. And since then, we have piecemealed the repairs and improvements we need at the wastewater treatment plant. To me, it's our highest priority for infrastructure improvement now, simply because if it failed, we'd be subject to huge fines for dumping sewage into the Annie River. And it's come close to failing many times since 2008, 2009, despite the quality of our operators and the expertise of the supervisor. It's just the age of the plant. It was built in 1960, and it has been cobbled together. It was originally built as a primary treatment facility, then as a secondary treatment facility it was added on to, then as a tertiary treatment facility it was added on to again. And it's a Frankenstein, it's a monster. It needs to be fixed.
Well, and to that point, I believe the digester is original 1950s.
It is.
Yep. You know, and it's lived its life 70 years, is a good life for a digester.
It would be, and I think we need to do this, but it would be in the city commission's best interest to have Ron give everybody a tour. I've had a tour, I'll take another one, Ron.
Okay.
I did one
Anytime.
last year. The funding, the extra, the $100,000, that would be coming from,
The leachate fund.
okay,
Sewer fund,
the sewer bill,
leachate.
so.
I will say the original conversation, just because this is an understanding with HDR as well, was there was $40,000 put in for
This year's budget.
Yeah,
This
we
year's
got into the
budget.
budget.
For engineering on those digesters, which they're, right, basically they're deemed not worth repair.
So we would hold our work down to less than $40,000 in the current fiscal year, and then open up anything else for the following subsequent fiscal year.
Anybody have any other questions?
That $100,000 on your list, Michelle.
It is.
That list is
They
growing.
just have to stay out of the leachate fund
Need
for
to-
the other stuff.
Anybody else have questions? If not, I'm entertaining a
We have to
motion.
approve this resolution too.
Yeah, but that's another line.
This
item.
is that Russian, right?
Yeah.
I'll let Kelly speak
Well,
to
that's
that.
that's a lot, that's another line item.
Okay, yeah, that's,
So,
Number 3.
So I'll make a motion to go ahead with the engineering from Coleman for a wastewater treatment plant.
I'll support it. We got a dollar amount, $140,000.
well, yeah, 140.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 140,000
Okay,
total.
and you supported that?
I will support
Okay.
accepting the cost proposal for engineering services.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilkinson, supported by Commissioner Justardens to approve the funding application that we tabled from 1/7/2026 for the engineering of the wastewater, engineering plan of the wastewater treatment plant. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Coleman project updates. Is it
Still me. Kelly might step in for a moment on some of these items, he's been more active on them, but I do want to point out this document I have with me. So I don't believe the council has that. However, going forward, we've been having monthly meetings with Devin and now Michelle and Ron for about 2 years. A lot of irons in the fire up here. This is our meeting minutes. We've kind of changed the format of them, specifically for the council here. What we'd like to do is start sharing these on a monthly basis, might key off some questions you could have, or just give you some updates on where we're at with all these projects. Some of these things we haven't touched in a month, some of these things are kind of just placeholders. And if I catch anything here you'd like to talk about, please just stop me, but just running through a couple of things we have going on actively. The campground toilet shower building remodel. It's going good. Looking at a hall contracting is telling us May completion for campground opening. Campground high sodium issue at the wells. That's been an active conversation for quite some time. That is currently in my court to write a procurement document to try to get a treatment supplier on board for the city.
How deep's the well there?
Pretty deep.
And it's
Ron?
300.
300 feet?
Mhm.
There's 2
And we
wells.
couldn't find good water?
We went probably went right past Goodwater.
Largest freshwater body in the world and there's salt water underneath.
I know.
Crazy.
So we're looking at a fairly significant treatment facility,
Well, it's not gonna be huge.
a little bit more than your Culligan man though, right?
Yeah, but the original, no, actually, you're talking about 3 or maybe 4, like residential sized units, but they would just run basically continuously, and we would have larger storage tanks.
So that request is something that I'm completing to get with Ron and Michelle, and we're going for a council before we sent that out to contractors.
I would like a cost estimate on what it would take to line the existing water line up to the tank. So rather than drawing on those wells and treating that water, we could draw water through that pipe. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep,
Scott?
I do.
It's what, it's a 12-inch pipe, I think?
You got my engineering brain going right now.
All right.
I'm thinking about how you line that. You can line it.
I don't know. Pretty cheap.
Well,
Go ahead.
Yes, I will add that to the list for that. Yeah, that's where that sits right now. We've seen some preliminary numbers, and the reverse osmosis treatment would probably win out on that. I'll just give you a little primer on it. There's enough space in the back of the west toilet shower building to install this stuff. There's a storage tank requirement. The systems are not crazy.
Could you go with the UV system instead of hooking up 4 RO systems?
So, these small package systems, I don't want to speak to what's the most cost effective necessarily. You know, that they're not something I'm involved with every day. RO seems to be the technology that everybody comes back with. It's a cartridge, you change a cartridge, it backwashes itself. There is, concentrated sodium that would be a wastewater that can be spilled underground. They're package systems, they kind of run themselves, you got their own little computer in it. That seems to be the way the treatment world is going. That said, this request for proposals from treatment companies would not limit it to reverse osmosis only. It would be any treatment that could treat that water.
So that would be added to any proposal that they give us options?
Correct. What I'm thinking is they're gonna give you a cost-based proposal for the treatment system. We would give them a requirement of gallons per minute and some test reports of the water that we have out there. Tell them, here's the limit we need you to hit, here's the space you have to fit it in. How can you do this, and what's the price to do it? Washington Street, Kelly wants to jump in.
Basically 3 projects on this list I want to recap today. So Washington Street being one of the bigger projects we're working on with you guys right now. So just as kind of a general update, working on the property transfer now to build a new lift station over by the Comfort Inn. We've actually started receiving some permits back. We haven't found all of them yet, but that process is ongoing, and some of the cleared permits are coming in. Design-wise, we're wrapping up the roadway design right now and doing a quantity takeoff on that and the rest of the utilities, so I'm hoping for a cost estimate in the next couple of weeks. That'll be our first snapshot on where the whole project came at. And we'll put the city at that point and review and see if there's any adjustments we need to make. The other project was the lead service line replacement project. That's probably our fastest paced project. We've got final plans and specs due to Eagle on March 17th. That's moved along quite nicely. We've filed the permits. We haven't received any of those back yet, but so far we've hit the entire schedule that Eagle has asked us for. I know the city's been working really hard trying to ID some of the services in the town, so we know exactly where we need to go with that. Just overall, I don't know if we've really talked about these dates before, but get those final plans in March. A bit shortly thereafter, we will close on the loan for that project in mid-July, and then that should begin construction in late fall. So, the other one I want to talk about was the remote access site. I'm currently working with 2 different contractors on some dewatering options for there and how we're gonna actually build that. Likely involving sheet piling at this point. And
Sheet piling for a boat rent?
it's out there deep enough. Some of the conventional ways of building it with like bags, it will not work in that depth.
I have a question about that project.
Sure.
Within the last couple of months, I know that we plan on adding 2 ramps. And in the last couple of months, I have read somewhere, I'm assuming it's from Coleman Engineering, that the existing ramps are in need of repair, significant repairs.
Correct.
Okay.
So that is a discussion I'm having with the contractors to get one estimate instead of just adding on what would it really take to demo what's there. We run into a lot of problems trying to add on to what's already been built. I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but you've got a port-in-place concrete ramp heading into the water. Out in the water is precast concrete blocks with a woven wire in there. The company that makes that block is one of the contractors I'm working with, and their opinion of it is it's not installed correctly at all. I'm not even quite sure how it got installed the way it was, and.
It's falling apart.
Well, and looking at adding on that same product on the outer limits of that is not gonna work well. So.
Something to consider, Kelly, is I use the boat launch a lot.
Okay.
And when we redid the parking lot and made the traffic flow make sense,
Sure.
the existing 2 ramps handled the increase in capacity with very few delays.
Okay.
Before, there was constant delays with traffic coming in, traffic to load boats, traffic to unload boats coming from 2 different directions with no rhyme or reason, and the traffic flow patterns there now have streamlined the process. There's adequate room to back in. Like I said, I used it every weekend this summer and had no delays, even though the parking lot was full.
That's really
So
good.
we may look at repairing the 2 we got and just adding a 3rd, and I think that would be adequate. I don't know how you determine necessary capacity.
Honestly, that was just kind of how it was handed off to us when we inherited this project. This is what the needs were felt to be at the time. 3 new docks and then expanding, not just in the width of the actual ramp, but also make it a little bit deeper. So the first thing I am working on though is, demo and replace the whole thing, just do the expansion, and then if we were to just demo and replace basically what's there, to see what will kind of fit within the budget, give you some options.
What I would recommend is, seeing so we're not gonna do this summer, is taking this summer, and I don't know how to do this, Michelle.
Sorry, it's me.
Oh, is it a fire?
Not us.
Not us.
Okay. I don't know how we would adequately survey the usage. I just don't know how you would do that. It would be anecdotal, I think, at best, I mean, I will be there every weekend this summer and I can look at it, but, I can't.
I gotta take the 5 that are in the grant application, 5 launches is what the grant application says. That may have been anecdotal in response to the old traffic pattern, and that is very good input. Observe it on the 4th of July and
Yeah.
Memorial Day.
At the very
and let
least,
us
you
know.
come down on a busy weekend this summer and see how it works.
There is no requirement that we know the answer to that before next winter at this point, if we're not gonna build this until 2027.
Yeah.
We just have to keep the DNR apprised of the situation and what we're working on. For any of you who haven't used it, I would encourage you to look at that ramp when the snow's gone. The first thing you will notice is the bent up rebar kind of poking its way through the ramp.
Yeah. I'm glad I got a short boat.
Well, that ramp was built on top of the old ramp. That's, you want to put a real pin in it, like Kelly pointed this out to me, I didn't even notice it. There was a ramp there, it was in poor shape, the blocks were laid on top of the old ramp. Now we're looking at how do you tie into that when you have an old ramp.
Boy, sheet pile and dewatering, boy, that's a lot of work. That's expensive too.
Well, we have time to discuss this further, but one option that the contractors kind of introduced to me, is if the city would ever entertain precast concrete planks. They may not have to de-water that site to do that. If we stick with that woven wire precast block, they need to do the sheet rock and de-water the site. So, not a decision yet, but it's one of those costing things I'm working out with them, just kind of see what's economic.
Thank you.
That was the projects I had to cover, unless you had questions on. some of the
No,
other ones
thanks,
on the list.
Kelly. I think you answered all the questions I had, you guys.
I'm glad you guys came, though, thank you, 'cause, just to give us a update on what is going on.
McGregor, I skipped off a couple, Let me give you two more. Very quickly, DPW building feasibility study. We did come up with a initial layout out there. Kind of like it, seems like it fits most of the needs of the city. And then in talking about the wastewater treatment plant conversation, because this talk is to put a DPW building down here next to the wastewater treatment plant, we stopped because maybe we need some of that real estate for the wastewater plant.
I would like to add the school to that conversation too and discuss the possibility of relocating their bus garage down there in the same location and freeing up that lot for parking.
Not a lot of space.
It's pretty tight.
We have a decent looking, I'll call it a plan view of what a DPW garage would look like there with giving your equipment and everything. That's in really nice shape.
Yeah, they only have 6 buses.
It's pretty tight with a DPW building down there. It's pretty tight. But that's the thing, I mean, it is a limited amount of real estate, railroad tracks, wetlands, everything else going on down there. So, just a consideration if the DPW building's going to come back into play, maybe after the wastewater talk.
I think that's DPW buildings down the
It
list.
is. No, it's got its reasons. And
Sorry.
I read,
and then the last one, city hydraulic model, we did finish the city's hydraulic model, sent that into Eagle, and they have accepted that.
What, say it again, first part?
Your hydraulic model
Okay.
of your water system. So that project is, I believe, all wrapped up now.
thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Scott. All right. Now, that brings us to item number 3, resolution for municipalities adding Coleman Engineering to the title and or name. Apparently, we did approve this resolution previously, but it didn't specify Coleman Engineering on it. And it basically is, I'm assuming it's that if you contract with any contractors outside the state is held harmless. Am I understanding that correctly?
And this
Am I roundabout
really
way?
is kind of a technicality with them right now, they're not allowing Coleman to file a permit on your behalf. Because they're not listed.
On there, so, anybody have any questions?
Just that when we approve this, that we fix all of the typos that are in this. City commission is spelled wrong, city is spelled wrong, regular is spelled wrong. Commission is spelled wrong, same thing. So,
Pretty sure that's the way your old one is.
We
didn't change it, that's your old one.
This is like
Well, we can do that.
yeah, so 2 N's in commission, 1 T in city. I think that'd be a good start.
That sounds about right.
Any more discussion? I entertain
I
a
move
motion.
we approve the performance resolution as amended.
I'll support.
Moved by Commissioner Justardens, supported by Commissioner Wilkinson to approve the performance resolution as amended. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
That's a
Motion
roll call.
carries. Oh, roll call votes. See right in here. Roll call, please, Mary.
Commissioner Wilkinson?
Aye.
Commissioner Justardens?
Aye.
Commissioner Bird?
Aye.
Commissioner Prunick? Mayor Barry?
Aye. Okay. So, new business. Coleman Engineering, Washington Street Community Facilities invoice in the amount of $5,821.50.
I move we approve the
Well, but
invoice.
I would like a little more clarification on these invoices. Sure. I personally, I don't, know what technician number 23 does, number 21, 15, what they do, and what these are. I mean, it can be a high level. What's that?
Those are pay grades.
Okay, well, that I understand, but I mean, I don't know what they're doing. And it's, even if it's just a high level summary, of what this invoice is for. I mean, it's just, basic engineering, I mean,
So that was the items I was discussing previously, working on the final road design, the quantity takeoffs, working on the cost estimate.
in the picture, could we have just some little kind of summary, it doesn't have to be intricate, but they all are pretty similar, and it's just for me.
If the commission's agreeable, that is kind of what Scott was alluding to.
Yep.
When we're recapping those meetings, we're writing those full
Perfect.
minutes with each project, so you'd have the invoices, you'd also have a big minute of all of our projects we've gone through, and a progress on all of them, where they stand to kind of accompany the invoices.
That would
That's
be
the
awesome.
intent.
No, and thank you, I appreciate that. So this one,
Can we lump these together
they're
instead
different,
of? I
they're
mean,
different.
can I make a motion that we pay invoice 58,934 for 58,2150, invoice 58,935 Why?
Because they're separate agenda
And
items. I don't think you can.
You have to talk louder than that.
I don't think you can because they're laid out separately on the agenda.
So maybe in the future, we can lump them together.
Yeah, that would be a good thing.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to start this ball rolling.
All right, I will move that we pay invoice number 58934 in the amount of $5,821.50 to Coleman Engineering.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Justardens, supported by Commissioner Burge to pay invoice 58934 in the amount of $5,821.50 to Coleman Engineering. Any more discussion? Hearing none, sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I move we pay invoice number 58935 to Coleman Engineering, the amount of $5,812.25 for Washington Street Sewer Project.
I'll support.
Moved by Commissioner Justardens, supported by Commissioner Prunick to pay invoice 58935 in the amount of $5,312.25 to Coleman Engineering for the Washington Street Sewer Project. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And I move that we pay, well, we got these out of order here. Invoice number 58931 in the amount of $19,531.70.
Skip one.
I did?
Yes. We got a lot of them here.
58936. All right, let me rephrase that. I move we approve invoice number 58936 for Coleman Engineering in the amount of $5,829.50 for the Washington Street Sewer Project,
Water.
or Water Project. Excuse me.
Moved by Commissioner Justardens, supported by Commissioner Burge to pay Coleman Engineering $5,829.50 for invoice 58936 for Washington Street Sewer Water Project. All those in favor? Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
All right.
Rob,
Now, I move we approve invoice number 58931 in the amount of $19,531.75 for the Coleman Engineering for the lead service line replacement project.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Justardens, supported by Commissioner Prunick to pay Coleman Engineering invoice 58931 in the amount of $19,531.75 for the Munising 2026 lead service line project. Any more discussion?
Yes. So going back a little bit further onto what each one does, why are the technicians getting involved in contracting documents?
That's a title within the company, engineering technician.
Okay, but the specific technician numbers are in a spot where I just wouldn't expect them to be it. Because in one spot, they're just all full of engineering, and now on the backside, they're here just for contract documentation.
That would be writing the technical specs, that would be the contract guidelines.
Okay. All right.
Any more? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Last, I move we approve 5,000, or invoice number 58933 from Coleman Engineering in the amount of $5,304.75 for the Munising TMF grant project.
I'll support.
Moved by Commissioner Justardens, supported by Commissioner Wilkinson to pay invoice 58933 in the amount of $5,304.75 for the Munising TMF grant to Coleman Engineering. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item 6, city manager report. Does anybody have questions or concerns?
I do not. Did we get an invitation to the meeting on the 18th with the Park Service? I haven't
Not
seen
officially
one.
yet.
Not yet. Yeah, they haven't seen anything either. Any questions?
Nope.
Bryce?
No, good, thank you.
Okay. Jordan?
No, good, thank you.
I'd entertain a motion to approve the city manager report.
Make that motion.
I'll support.
Moved by Commissioner Birch, supported by Commissioner Prunick to approve the city manager report. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Treasurer grant decision. I love it.
These aren't gonna replace the treasurer's report, though, right?
No, you'll still get the standard report that you always get.
Pictures.
These are to accompany it quarterly based on our last discussion. Also based on our last discussion, you would only receive this first page top graph as just an example. Commissioner Burge mentioned he went and wanted maybe some smaller graphs that broke it out a little bit easier so you can see the smaller budgeted items rather than comparing, $20,000 budgets to $1 million budgets in one graph. So that's kind of what I tried to do on the first page. And then if you look at the second page, that's still expenditures, but I broke it out by budget amount. So less than 25,000, so on and so forth. And then the last page is going to be your revenues, mimicking the first page, which is your expenditures, seeing if that's is that what you want? Is that helpful?
Yeah,
Yes.
Do we like one more than the other?
No, I think this is really helpful. I got it almost right away when I looked at it. It was.
Jumped right on the marijuana tax one, though.
Yeah. They haven't highlighted, yeah.
The only one who hasn't paid.
We haven't gotten it.
That's from the state, right?
Yeah,
We
the
get
state.
it in May. It's one of the later revenue items that we receive.
Once a year?
Once a year, yep.
And it's going down.
It is going down, yeah, it's also, one of my treasurer's meetings that I was in today actually says that the revenues are even down from what they were last year.
Would they just increase the marijuana tax to 20?
No, that's wholesale. That's for the growers. And then it's passed on.
Forgive me if I demonstrate my ignorance of the
Yeah.
marijuana business.
Well, we also
I
have
only
one
know it
less
because of the bank.
open facility in Munising, so we're down from 3 to 2.
But in general, the whole industry is going down,
Yeah.
and so the tax roll is going down.
Everybody's growing it.
It's going up in smoke.
Yep, oh my God. You wanna know
What are the anticipated revenue? Is there anticipated revenue?
I've been putting in 100 because I don't really know, I don't really have my,
What was it last year, Kristen?
I believe it was 150 and 175 the year before.
And I'm
It's
not trying
going
to,
down.
yeah, I think it was a little less than that because we only had the 2.
Nope, last year we did have 3 on the books according to the fiscal year end of the state.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because they
October is when there
and
is.
the fiscal year, but not the calendar.
Well, they closed in 23, I thought, 23, 24, it doesn't matter, okay. Don't.
Either way, there should be a decrease from previous years this year. I don't really know how to really
Do we need
guess
some
on
action on
that.
this?
I don't know if we necessarily do, other than.
Is this what you're looking for? I'll run with this as a template
Yeah,
for
it's
next
in
quarter.
color and nothing's too small where I can't transpose.
Is
the
there
lines.
any issues
So-
with the color? Like,
No.
are we good with this clear color scheme, blue, orange?
Yep, nope, I like it.
Red
It's
one's
almost
fire
navy
department,
blue.
pink.
All right, thank you, Kristen. Awesome. All right, let's move on to item 8, road closure request for Veterans Memorial Drive on June 11th noon through Saturday, June 3rd, I'm sorry, what would that be? Thursday, June 11th at noon through Saturday, June 13th at 8 PM for Pictured Rocks Days. Kathy Reynolds has submitted a request to us. It's the same request she submitted.
Did we give them exclusive vendors last year?
That I
think we
don't
did.
know. That's the next one.
It makes sense to.
Okay. Well, let's do item 8 first.
I move we approve the request.
Moved by Commissioner Justardens, supported by Commissioner Prunick, to approve the request from the Chamber of Commerce to close Veterans Memorial Park Drive from June 11th through June 13th. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Now, you can ask on item 9, request for Picture Rocks Days to be sole vending / selling opportunity at Park, June 11th through June 13th. Registration through Alger County Chamber of Commerce building.
Yeah, go ahead. I move we approve the request for Picture Rock Days for the chamber to be the sole vending, selling through, from June 11th through June 13th.
I support. I just note that the only other competitor for that is the farmer's market, which is on Mondays.
Yep. So moved by Commissioner Wilkinson, supported by Commissioner Justardens, to approve the request for Picture Rocks Days to be sole vending / selling opportunity at the park, June 11th through the 13th. Any more discussion?
Silly question, but how do we enforce that? What are, like, if we're approving this, what kind, is there any kind of liability or anything that the city's incurring by enforcement?
I don't think so. It's never come up. I mean, I hate to say that it's just, we've always done it this way, but it.
Yeah, the Chamber of Commerce would know if there's somebody trying to put a food truck in there that hasn't paid their fee.
Yeah, they're down there quite a bit.
And I think we've got enough, enough folks down there policing.
Okay.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Budget and fund balance discussion.
Yes, so last meeting, you received some correspondence from me asking for some input on this year's budget, something we've never done before. So I've made a spreadsheet to kind of keep notes. So the biggest discussion is, what are your guys' goals as commissioners for the city to spend? Commissioner Justardens did provide some via email, so I have those in here. You all received them as well. Kind of overarching goals, different projects you'd like to see prioritized over others. General maintenance, like, what are you guys thinking?
I think our number one thing we need to really look at is wastewater treatment. I mean, that's gonna be
Wastewater.
the major expense in the next, what, 2-3 years?
Sorry, Red.
Yeah.
All right, I always get kicked to the curb.
Yeah,
That's what on the list.
Well, and I definitely agree that should be, especially from now, learning so much more, and I mean, it's detrimental part of our community.
Yeah.
So it should be.
How good the Lego was one of my favorites.
Consensus amongst that one, love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess from a conceptual aspect of this, how much flexibility do we have compared to like the 7-year capital improvement plan? How much flexibility do we have to prioritize one project over another, move it up, move it back? Kind of?
How much disposable income do we have?
Well, that's not really the question. This isn't holding you to any sort of financial obligation. It's more as a way to guide further discussions such as the capital improvement plan, moving forward in this process. If there's, obviously wastewater treatment plant, but if that wasn't on, Michelle's radar, that'd be a, hey, we need to start looking at that. That's kind of, I think, where this process is gonna go in the future. I know this is the first time we've done it. So probably some bumps along the road trying to figure it out. But it's not really holding you to anything. It could be a wish list that we revisit next year if we've done some of these projects that are already started, such as Washington Street. Start going down lists. Where are we at? Do we need to start looking at some major equipment replacements? I know Red just said fire trucks, even though we just bought one.
You need a new one, man?
Another one?
Yeah, we can put it in the new DPW shed.
Yeah.
It seems to me the last time we bought a fire truck, it was only $100,000. Can we still get one for that?
Yeah, I do that.
Nice.
I'll get some tires.
So I guess just kind of looking at some of the stuff here.
Hold on, we're saying that.
I'm already kind of bummed about this entire thought exercise because we still don't know where that money's coming from for existing projects. And $300,000 for the boat ramp, $100,000 now for the school project. That's 10% of our budget roughly, that we just have to magically find. It's just on a list for our city manager to find. I don't find that amusing. So like, it's difficult to figure out what we can prioritize with that aspect, because I think that it would be really nice to have a better, sidewalk snowplow. That's something that we could do as a city without throwing $100,000 down and just pray to God that DOT doesn't screw us again. And we could have that set up so that it's a safe walk to school.
But if that can go on,
I can put that on
the list.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, I think we're just mainly brainstorming, and I mean,
Well,
appreciate the
and
comments.
you guys are also in the community in a different way than City Hall is necessarily. So, coffee talks, Bob, you're big on sidewalks. So if you guys are getting information, I know some feedback on the cemetery has come back through the coffee talks, stuff like that we're not necessarily getting 100% of the information. We're just more getting the really angry people about snow plowing. So just kind of from a different perspective to see what's out there, what the needs are from a less of like the infrastructure of, we know we have water lines that we need to replace, we know what equipment is going, but if a new snow blower for the sidewalks is really a priority that you guys are seeing different than what we're seeing, this is an opportunity to bring that up.
I would count on staff to tell us that they needed a new sidewalk snow blower, but one thing I would kind of like to add is an assessment of our rolling stock. I remember, and this is several years ago, we were told that we should have, our rolling stock inventories should be no more than 7 years old.
Sorry, did I laugh?
I know. And I know that there was a time we got really close to having everything newer than 7 years old, but we've gotten away from that. I don't know where you'd find that information, Michelle, but that would be good to know. And as we've had our water and sewer assessed, what was the term, surveyed, we should do that same with our rolling stock to determine. But in my view, I rely upon the department heads, the treasurer, and the clerk, and the city manager to put the budget together. I appreciate the opportunity for some very broad input, not, you need to fix the sidewalk in front of Rod's house.
Right.
That kind of stuff.
Yes.
And I appreciate that opportunity, but I rely upon the staff to drive the budget and tell us what we need.
But we're also out there.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, this is just another facet of information sharing. I think.
Yeah, and like I said, I appreciate the opportunity, and I agree that it should be broad overarching goals rather than the sidewalk in front of Ron's house. Oh, he lives in Gladstone, so we didn't worry about that.
Well, I think, isn't that gonna go along with the non-motorized transportation plan?
Well, now, we're starting to get into the weeds a little bit, but,
Well,
yeah,
but
I
that,
mean,
It could.
but it's again, this is just what we're
Right.
seeing that we would like as,
So from constituents, that's what really, but like the constituents that are reaching out to you, or to us, that may not be able to reach out to you. Okay, so I would be, a lot of them were policy-based, so that's not necessarily the aspect of what this is about financial goals. I would say considerably better body cam footage and body cams for the city police, as well as pairing that up with a revamped FOIA policy to deal with any kind of FOIAs that would come up from it. With the school changing to no cell phones, I know that that's already been an issue a couple of times. I would say that the sidewalk snow plow, and I think that the entire area south of the school, by the ice arena and by the football stadium, needs some heavy duty looking at. The safety aspects of trying to get everybody in and out, what kind, who has what property, who has what parcel, that would be a big one to look at, because that's also economic driving by all the people that are coming in, using Munising as a neutral location for playoff games. Those are things that can satisfy other itches that we have. And I think that's all the ones that haven't been addressed yet.
I think this should be a rolling list, maybe we revisit it every.
Yep, the plan would be to revisit this
Yep.
kind of every year, start with, hey, what did we do last year, did anything get checked off the list? And we're kind of running a similar idea with our department heads, we've only had one meeting with Ron, and I think it worked really well. Kind of gave us a more narrowed down list, so you guys are broad, big ideas, departments will come a little bit narrower, and then that kind of drives what we bring back to you guys through the budget process as, hey, these are what we need to do this year, this is what the funding is, this is what's available, kind of.
Did we or did we
process.
not approve or put in the budget computers?
So.
Laptops for the city?
We have, there has been discussion since about removing that.
How necessary are those, honestly?
Oh, well, I don't know, there was,
I mean, I don't want one, I don't want another computer, personally.
Yeah.
I don't think that, we've lived without laptops or tablets. That's my personal feeling. I've got a computer,
I don't know what I would do with it. I have two already.
I think especially with the budget we have currently, you know, if we can scratch $10,000, it's a start somewhere.
Right.
Though they are cheap.
They are cheap, the budget was 10,000.
But this.
I guess we can keep killing trees then, so.
Yeah, but they aren't that cheap though,
I think you'd still get paper packets
Yes.
for a little while
I
anyway.
would insist on it.
And there's more than just purchasing the laptop itself. I mean, we've got to, go through LASCO and the whole IT thing and, just firewalls and security and, and if we're having them at home and VPNing in somehow, I mean, there's just a lot more to think about with the cost. It's not just the physical property itself.
Are we allowed to get CDs and other things along those lines? I don't know what the rules are.
As far as
CDs, compact discs, they make those.
Oh,
Yep.
I thought you like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do have various investment kind of in place already. Most recently, we did have a CD at PSB that just came to maturity. We have some at Range. We also have a CDARS at Range, which is a little bit of a different mechanism. We also have a sweep account, they call it an ICS. So it's nightly, essentially, insurance by moving the money in $250,000 increments to other banks to get that FDIC coverage. And then we do have just our standard accounts.
Okay.
Don't we see that though in the budget? Don't we see that already?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's on your balance sheet.
But,
I guess one thing that might help out fire trucks, but also all the other vehicles that we have. I'd be interested to see what the maturity aspects on some of these things would be if we were to get, because I think it's 6 years out, it's the fire truck that's on the capital gains. If we were to throw 1,500 into a CD and let that grow over 5 years, like, I don't know, I don't know the math, I haven't checked it out. But if we were able to throw in spare change at the end of the year, so that way it could mature, I think that would give us a lot of a heads up, at least in terms of outfitting it after the purchase. The decals, the lighting, anything state specific. That could be really well to just offset some of the costs that would incur after the initial purchase.
I agree. We can look at our investment policy later. That gets approved every year by you guys. But that you're kind of venturing into the secondary part of this discussion, which is the fund balance policy for the general fund specifically.
And this is just for information, we're not, there's no.
It's just for information. I did ask for a little bit of feedback on those blanks. You guys did receive a copy of this with my correspondence. The first part of that is the adopted policy that is currently in place, and then a draft revision, a little bit more updated, a little bit more detailed. And then that last page is gonna show, I guess, have those blanks that I was
Do you want
asking
Excuse
for
me
a little
one
bit of
second.
input
Gentlemen,
for.
thank you so much for coming.
Yes, yes,
Thank you, Kristen, sorry. This one. Go ahead.
Eventually, we're going to have to decide on what numbers to put here.
You guys are more than welcome to stay with the one from 2011. You are well within your rights to do that.
What
But
did we
yes,
have for
I
minimum
would-
fund
I
balance in
would like-
2011?
2 months.
2 months, yep, you have it in front.
See, I seem to remember Mike Gens telling us that we should have 6 months.
6 months is the high end.
2 months was the minimum on the original policy from 2011, and 6 months was the maximum listed. I am cool if that's what you guys want to stick with. I am open to discussion. I am open to changing it to a percentage versus a month.
Is that adequate, Christie? 10, 20%?
20% might be a bit.
10%?
I think, hold on, let me find the papers, hold on.
You tell me what we need.
Depends on what your goals are, it's kind of a
Yeah.
Well,
double-edged sword. So if your plan is essentially to start saving and start putting away those things for larger projects down the road, you might wanna say that that's a higher percentage. If your plan is, we're happy with where we're at, we wanna start seeing some of these capital improvements, you know, maybe the smaller items be cash, then that's what we do, and that's how we start to navigate this system.
Kind of going to your point with the CDs, and how we.
Yeah. I would like, and I'm not a numbers guy, I'm sorry. I would like to have a budget that, to the extent it is physically possible, not to draw into the fund balance at the beginning of the fiscal year to balance that year's budget.
And I like the combination of these. I do like, I'm just going on the policy itself. It's very, the draft that you presented is very descriptive, it explains it.
It
So,
doesn't
as
have
far
a
as the-
definition for fund balance, we're not doing anything with yet.
Nope, not doing anything for fund balance. I do have an example of another community's fund balance policy. Their minimum is 25% of general fund revenue for a year, and their maximum unrestricted shall be the minimum plus $1 million.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, that's not
Much for us.
a blanket for all communities, that's just a wording possibility. You guys could say, 10% of revenue plus 200,000. It's just what works for you guys.
Okay.
But I did run those scenarios if you wanted to know them. 25% in 2025 revenue would have been $818,000, plus $1 million would be $1.8 million.
What, do you know what 2 months offhand? By chance?
I know that the monthly average so far this year in expenditures is $381,000.
So,
So
700,000.
700.
So 2 months would be 700 and change.
Okay.
And that would be 2/12, so it would be 15%.
Look at you.
I know, I can do some math.
20, so, and that's,
Round up.
25, 26 numbers. I didn't necessarily have a full data set, so I ran the same kind of calculation on 24, 25, which is completed fiscal year, audit's done, and that is an average monthly spending of $394,000.
Okay, so about even.
Yep.
All right.
Monthly payroll being about $85,000.
Not a numbers guy doesn't mean I can't count. Remember quickly?
Down under? Yeah.
So I didn't have much use for them.
Okay, any more questions?
No.
I guess I have some more, food for thought, when looking at what your priorities would be for a spend down or a build up. Let me find those papers because I definitely had them and now I lost them in the shuffle. Something to think about maybe for our next conversation is what you would like to see us prioritize over other things when it comes to saving spending. If we have an excess, looking back at that previous community, their, cut or delay pay-as-you-go improvement, capital improvements, versus if they have an excess, fully funding their pension obligation, things like that would be.
Or paying off our debt.
Or paying off your debt early, yep. Completion of capital improvement projects through a
I don't
list.
know what to tell you for if we can't maintain the minimum. I would rely on you and the manager to tell us what we had to cut,
Yeah.
could afford to cut,
So the top,
like a
so
new fire
this,
truck.
these ideas from another community is the cut or delay the pay-as-you-go capital improvements, or cut general operating expenses, increase rates in charging, funding specific services to make them self-sufficient where possible. So those would be, your enterprise funds and tourist park, or looking at your fee schedule for the cemetery, or the ice arena, those kind of things that do charge a fee, but aren't necessarily fully funding their operations in its entirety. So just, food for thought. I guess if you guys have anything after this conversation, feel free to email them to Michelle and myself. I will add them into this document, keep this as a working document,
Awesome.
and bring that forward back in the future. Any other questions?
Thank you,
Thank you
Kirsten.
very much for doing this. All right, one last, well, a couple last items. Item 10, or item G, correspondence. Basically, this is the letter that's drafted, that has been drafted to go out to customers regarding the water service line replacement.
When is it gonna go out?
Well, yet to be determined, but it will be going on soon.
I didn't hear that, I'm sorry.
It's gonna go out soon.
I have to coordinate with Calvin.
This is, I'm glad I'm not the one. You've gotta go into people's houses and rip out their water line.
It's hard enough getting access to
Are
the
you guys
houses.
gonna do it, or we're gonna have contractors?
No, contractor.
But you don't wanna-
But I'm the one that's gotta go in the house and identify it.
Yeah.
It's hard enough trying to get in the houses.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the dog and
Well,
old lady
just
people.
nobody's home, don't answer the door.
That did not happen at my house. Okay, item H, public comment, 4 minutes. We got 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Hey, Dee.
How are you guys? Thanks. Safe route schools, 100% for it. The only couple things, I'm right with Bob. If people remember, we had islands right up on the highway here. We took it out for a reason. A big thing that we looked at in front of that middle school, that is the access to the county building. At 8 o'clock, all of our people are going through, it's
There's a comment.
Did the county have anybody in on this?
This is a public comment.
This is the first time we've heard of it. I was told by the undersheriff that Michelle got a hold of him and he was trying to get back, so I thought I'd make a meeting. We have our emergency services come through there on a call, and it's congested right now. You put an island in there, what's that gonna do? Is there a way somehow, and I know when you look at engineers, they're there to make it as much as possible. So when you're saying $200,000 engineering fee, get rid of some of those islands. It's gonna knock it down. Try to find some other ways, it might be affordable then, if you don't, them are big dollar items. I guess that's all I really gotta say, but we're worried on congestion there. The Matmos has come out, we get a call, that's plugged, okay, which way do we go? It's plugged up. Is there a way that we can have, I see a lot of them have drop-off lanes, in a different area? And just tell the parents, this is where you go to drop off kids. You do not drop them off on Melon Street. You go in the back in Jewel. We're gonna drop that off, Jewel Street, knock it off, why not? I used to plow that too. We plowed, it's the same plowing, you plow right across that. We plow the whole thing anyway. The city could just take that and go right up and just bypass that whole area for the hospital. Knock it off. they plow it anyway. But there's other discussions, and to keep that money down on engineering, I mean, $200,000, come on, this could probably get done if you knock off those big dollar items, get that big engineering items out there, and make kids safer, but thanks.
Go ahead.
Supposed to go over here.
Yeah.
Seems so formal. Yeah, I'm James Peterson, and been glad to volunteer as the crossing guard over here for the middle school, high school, and I just appreciate the council's willingness to explore these options. I understand I've been on the school board, and so I know when people come in and start throwing all these numbers out, but I feel like right now we're still just exploring this as an option. And I have a little bit to Bryce's point, I have talked to Sheila quite extensively, like law enforcement in the for the speed zones anyway, over there is something that's on her radar, literally. But with the snow and everything in the wintertime, it is just a little bit of congestion. But as I've been over there since the beginning of the school year, I've lost count of how many close calls we've had. So I'm standing in a giant fluorescent reflective jacket with a stop sign that blinks, and semis and regular passenger vehicles and everything have just slid right through there. So I just wanted to say thank you for exploring these options to help keep our students safe.
Thanks, James. Technically, the public comment is supposed to be on non-agenda items, but because of the nature, both of you, but because of the nature of tonight's meeting, they're much appreciated.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, I'm gonna 30 seconds of my 3 minutes, or 4 minutes. The high school, has there ever been any thought of putting another road into that?
No, not at the moment, not thought about that. Yeah, actually, it's the first that it's come up. But thank you, do appreciate your guys' comments and, what? No, not agenda.
Actually, the last time we explored the Safe Route to Schools grant, we looked at putting a second access through the alley behind the Quonset hut down into the parking lot.
And I'm sure MDOT hasn't saved the speed limit there.
Actually, the owner of the Quonset hut was unwilling to sell the property for anything close to a reasonable amount of money.
I'm sure.
Might change it all, he's living out of a.
Maybe. That was my public comment.
Okay, I'm just teasing you guys, but, I'm ready for item I, adjournment, entertain a motion.
I have a quick question, though.
You guys just wanna make it.
No, I don't care. I would like to see, I'd like to see